Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10. We're here on a Sunday after a win against the Packers with Caleb and JP. What's up, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to see another win. How are you doing?
Good, man. 2 wins in a row. I
Hey,
mean,
that's
that's
what's positive.
that's positive.
No,
We
not turn
saw
the
some
ball over. Did not
didn't
turn the
know
ball over.
no
Got a couple
turnovers.
positives. So yeah.
That's something to be thankful for. It's a step in the right direction. It's just it's it's a complex game with a lot of working pieces and a lot of working parts, and it just takes time to adapt and get back to where you used to be. And you know, you listen to all the talking heads on Twitter, and it just starts to really get on my fucking nerves. To be honest with you, I mean, get rid of Mahomes. He's the problem. He's all about commercials now and blah 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 blah. It has nothing to do with commercials. It has nothing to do with somebody said Andy was the problem. It's not Andy. Um,
It's problems, but I don't think it's really Andy, for being honest.
no, it's not Andy. Um, Look, I'm going to go ahead and say some things that I've been holding off for a while, and I'm going to go ahead and say it because I'm tired of listening to all the bullshit. Look, Andy got sick, and he turned the play calls over to somebody else. The play call, it's what happened.
Did
He
this
hasn't been.
happen whenever he fell out after the game?
Yes, yes,
Okay. So week
and
3. So okay.
week 3, he was sick. He hasn't been. This is just now Andy being close to being Andy, back to being Andy. During that time period, none of the coaches, well, I'm not going to say none of them. Most of the coaches didn't do what they were supposed to do. They took it upon themselves to grow great big giant fucking watermelon heads and decide they were big time coaches, and they thought they were all going to do what they were the big time coaches and they were going to do it all, and they did nothing but run this team for the most part. There's 3 in particular that did just that. And they won't be here next year. It's that simple. We're not the team to fire people in the middle of the season. If we were that team, we would have fired Todd Haley in the middle of the season. But we're not that team. It is what it is. It takes time. Look, it pissed a lot of people off, not just within the coaching staff, but it pissed a lot of players off. There's players that had arguments. There's players that got not with each other, but with coaching staff. There's a lot of players that are irritated. The continuity is not there anymore, or wasn't there, and it's hard to get that back. And then you take into consider Mahomes that is going through some stuff on his own. Not to mention the fact his whole life got turned upside down this entire past year. He's got to deal with outside problems, inside problems, worrying about his head coach. Play calls not being what he's used to. His game being turned around. New wide receivers, new offensive line. It's not what everybody thinks it is. And all this bullshit on Twitter. Oh, well, fire Andy, fire Spags, fire this guy, fire that guy. Mahomes sucks. Get him off. Chad Henne's better. Petitions going around. All this dumb bullshit. Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Aaron Rodgers, everybody has said this. The only 2 people that don't say this are Joe Buck and Troy Aikman because they're both Chiefs haters. It is what it is. They don't like the Chiefs. I hate when they call our games because they don't like them.
I mute them just half the time.
Yeah, I do too.
And I'm kind of hoping that the Chiefs could do this, but let Mitch Holtis, also as we have on the radio, sync it up with the TV too. I would love to hear him.
Yeah.
I know they have to do for TV, but can they do something like Channel 5, Channel 41, something? Give us
anything's better than this. Yeah.
I think at this point it's just kind of like this. I don't mind other commentators, but when it comes to certain things, I prefer to hear Mitch Holtis and what he has to say. That's just me.
Even Kevin Harlan. I mean, Kevin Harlan,
he's at least decent. I mean,
yeah. It's this has become a joke, and our fan base, and I'm not going to say all of them because they're not all of them. There's a lot of great fans in our fan base, but reading these tweets that have come across my phone's dinging like mad. We suck. We got people that are following us. Our offense sucks. Mahomes sucks. We're going to take a big fat L. It's one thing after another. And they don't understand that it wasn't just Mahomes that went through shit. Kelsey went through shit this offseason. Tyreek went through shit this offseason. Andy went through shit this offseason. And then not just take all that into consideration, but then also add in the fact that Andy was not completely right. Mm-hmm. Okay. He is just now being active and interactive with the team again, starting last week. This, has anybody not seen him standing on the sidelines from week 3 on, not doing a fucking thing, standing there and not doing anything? He did nothing. He stood there. He didn't talk to the players. He didn't go up and talk to Mahomes like he normally does. He did nothing.
Like he's done that since he had that issue where they said he went to the locker room that the
exactly.
In week 3, and it makes sense because he hasn't he usually always sits next to Mahomes and figures something out. They're not doing that. Bieniemy's there. They're not doing that. So I don't know what they're going through, but from what you and I have talked about outside of the podcast, some stuff's gonna have to change.
It is, and it's gonna change.
Well, yeah.
It's definitely gonna change. It's not gonna happen this year, so don't everybody get their panties in a bunch thinking it's all gonna change in 1 year, because it's not. But I can tell you now, everybody running their mouths about Mahomes, that's a good way to run out the best quarterback in the NFL out of your fan base. I want
to say something, and I hate to say this. Sorry, are you finished with what you wanted to say before I transition?
Go ahead. I mean, go ahead. I'm just pissed off.
Okay, sorry, man. No, you're good. What I'm starting to see this with Steve Spagnuolo is this. Steve Spagnuolo remind me of Bob Sutton, and Tyrann Matthews remind me of Marcus Peters. They're going to have an situation, either going to pick Spags or pick Matthew. One of them is going to have to go. And I do not understand what Spags is doing. The defense played a great game, but for him to continually want to put Sorensen out there on downs that doesn't work out, all it takes is one time, man. All it takes is one play. Sorensen did good for the most part of the game. And then that one play, we're at a 6-point lead. I just hope, and Matthew's visibly upset, and he has every right to do so. I'm not one to call out people, but I just tweeted out look, this is on Spags. Sorensen should not be in there.
He shouldn't have been.
Really I just don't understand. We have other players, and another thing is, yes, they were doing a good job of holding Jordan Love, but we should have a QB spy out there. Let Daniel be the spy. He can run, but apparently that's never going to happen under Spags. Spags is our defensive coordinator. He only sees Armani Watts and Daniel as practice as
special teams.
Special teams guys. It's ridiculous to see. But what I'm saying is this: Matthew has every right to be upset, and I don't blame him one bit. And if Spags not going to change anything, it looks like he's not going to, and thinks he knows it all, even though he's won 3 Super Bowls. You can win Super Bowls and still struggle, and we're seeing that he does not want to adjust. And look, man, I'm a little concerned moving towards the future. I'm going to be honest. Great win. The defense played well. The defensive players, for the most part, did well. I'm not talking about what Spags did. The players did good. But the calls that Spagnuolo did towards the end, I didn't see Ingram in as much. I was really concerned. I'm like, Ingram is getting a lot of pressure. Bro, his very first play on 3rd down. Bro, he caught a pressure on his first play, and the defensive intensity changed. That was the old Chiefs that I remember, where they had the pass rush. It made all the other positions look good, bro. It was so nice to see. And then he wasn't playing as much, it seemed like. He wasn't being moved around. And it was just frustrating to see at the end of the day. I don't know what they're going to do, but if Spags is going to continue to do what he's doing and not really going to take out Sorensen, look, man, I don't want to lose Tyrann Matthew. I don't want a situation we have with Marcus Peters and Bob Sutton, where they pick Sutton and we end up losing in the playoffs and doing bad because of him when we could have Peters. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
And it might be a reach, but this is a situation I'm kind of seeing. Because you were talking about players getting mad at coaches. This is something I could see possibly happening. Maybe, but maybe I'm just reaching.
Well, the coaches that they're getting mad at aren't specifically big-time coaches. I can't say
Spags is a part of. I would say Spags is part of the problem, though.
Well,
in my opinion,
Spags needs to come down more to reality when it comes to, I guess, more into the 21st century, a little bit more. He does have his favorites. For some reason, Sorensen's one of them. But what I noticed, and it was very strange, because if you looked where Sorensen and even Neiman were playing at the beginning of the game, even through the first half, they weren't really playing their normal positions. They were more in the middle of the field, playing more of the pressure.
They were blitzing.
Blitzing. That's, if you're going to play them in the middle of the field on a blitz, hey, I'm all for that. But don't put them.
That's what they're good at, honestly.
That's what they're good at. That's it. I mean, that's what they're good for. But don't put them in a man coverage situation, because they're not good at it. Neither one of them. Mm-hmm. Sorensen especially. Sorensen's now been burned for 3 touchdowns this season.
He has given up so many touchdowns. I think it's like 5.
It may be, yeah. Well, 3 down in the end zone, that a red zone that I know of, that I can remember. 3 in the red zone, or within, at least 25 yards, and that's sad. He shouldn't be out there. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know why DeAndre Baker's not out there. There's something going on there. Ward was a king today, played like a beast, just phenomenal again. He's one of the most underrated CBs in the game. Very quiet, unsung hero of the defense. You're right. Matthew had every right to be upset.
He has every.
We were ready to shut that team out, and
they should have. They really should have. But
they should have.
Spags wants to put in Sorensen. He wants to put in him. He wants to put in those guys he thinks that did good 2 years ago. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. You have to keep, when you're a football team, this is something Bill Belichick is great at. He does not hold on to players. If he realizes you're losing a step, gone.
Yeah.
Gone. I mean, I'm telling you, if Sorensen even would have been with the Patriots, especially Sorensen, he would have been gone by like week 3. I'm telling you right now, there is no way. But they want to keep these guys for, they understand the playbook. They understand how the offense works. This, that, and third. Like, look, you need to bring in some people that can play. Because what they're doing, especially Sorensen, is really making this team struggle.
It's a detriment.
And it's sad to see because they should not be playing like this. No. And, I mean, I'll get into the offense for a second, man, but they should have been a shutout. If we're being honest, that should have been a shutout. The defense can only do so much. And
look, you've seen, we've preached this numerous times about the defensive line being the catalyst, and then everybody else. When our defensive line breaks down, everybody else falls off their assignments. It makes, the secondary look bad because they're falling off their assignments. And you notice today that our defensive line, with Ingram being in there, it looked great. And our secondary looked phenomenal. Frank Clark being back on his,
like a beast.
He did. And he looked back like he was in a rare form again, and better than he's played really since he's been with us. Better than he's played in his career, really. I think he's finally realizing, you know what, this is what I'm being paid for. And somebody must have got through to him. I know he's had some conversations with coaches and some other people, with his off-field issues and even some of the internal issues that he's had with the team. And he's being paid to play a game, a lot of money to play a game. So
he showed up though. He showed up.
Last 3 weeks. Yeah, last 3 weeks. He has
kicked in another gear, and I think he's finally hit his stride, which we need perfectly at this point in the season.
Yeah,
pass rush like that.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job. Ingram did a great job. Actually, Jaron Reed did a good job today. Yeah, he was getting a lot of pressure today. Everybody did a good job. And if you noticed, again, we've been preaching this. Defensive line does well. Secondary does well. Defensive line does like shit. Secondary plays like shit because they're falling off of their assignments to make up for what the defensive line couldn't handle. That's part of the game. It's like a domino effect. We have been playing shitty. Our defensive line was playing terrible, and I can't say it. They weren't playing up to par. So it made everybody else fall, off of their assignment, and then big plays happen. It is what it is. We give up large amounts of yards. We give up touchdowns. It just is what it is. Tyrann Mathieu was very excited today because we didn't give up a damn point. But again, one fucking player steps on the field at the end of the game and gives up a touchdown that shouldn't have been on the field. If that would have been anyone else that we've got on our team, that touchdown wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened.
It would have been a first down.
It would have been a first down, but it definitely wouldn't have been a touchdown. So that's something that he's got to work out with himself. Spags has got to figure out that he is not what he is. He's not set up for that. At this
point, Spags is going to do what he thinks is right, and he's not going to deviate from that. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. Regardless of how much the fans are going to loud, scream, yell, shout, Spags will not do something unless Andy comes in and say he's not playing. But from what we've seen, Andy is not like that. So we're just going to have to deal with his fans. Unfortunately, as we want to, he let Bob Sutton do whatever he wanted for 6
I think Andy learned a little bit more.
I don't know, man, because Andy hasn't really taken it by the horns and be like,
well, again, he hasn't been able to this year. When he stepped up 2 weeks ago.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And when he stepped up 2 weeks ago before that Giants game, and I'm going to say this because